In this video, I'm going to share a method that I have personally found to be the most effective in terms of getting me to just stop caring about what people think of me. Because I am someone who has lived majority of my life caring so much about what people think of me, and I noticed through experience that there is a pattern in terms of the cases where I do care a lot about what people think of me versus when I don't care as much about what people think of me. And I'm gonna share that in this video, and I'm calling it the anchoring method. This is something that I made up, but the term itself I borrowed from like a psychology concept, but it's a bit different in this case because it's related specifically to not caring about what people think of you. And I know that I may look kind of silly because I have these two flowers on my face, but these are pimple patches because I have like two pimples, and I don't really care if I look silly because that's just part of the strategy of what I'm going to talk about in this video. So, okay, I have some notes here because I do talk a lot, and if I don't have notes, I'm just going to be rambling on and on. But there are three main parts that I'm going to go through. And the first part is, why do we care so much about what people think of us? I think the answer is pretty obvious if we just think about, like, just say, for example, back in school, right? If you think about the smartest kid in class and the dumbest kid in class, or like the class clown, or just say like a really impressive investment banker on Wall Street versus a homeless guy in New York City. Like, in these scenarios, who do you think is the person who cares more about what people think of them? Yeah, it's probably the smart kid and the charismatic finance guy. And why is that? Well, it's probably because they have this image of themselves that they need to maintain. Or in other words, it's their ego. That's the thing. That's what I noticed, is that the people who care most about what others think of them, including myself, like the times where I care most, is whenever there's some image that needs to be maintained. Like the image of myself in other people's mind that I want to manage and maintain to some expectation that I have placed and defined. The people who don't care about what other people think, they don't really have this image that they need to maintain. If you're watching this video, I'm gonna assume that you're in the first category, where you have some type of image or some ego that you want to protect. And in this case, the solution to not caring about what people think of you, or to at least care a lot less about what people think of you, is to kill our egos. Now, this leads to part two, which is the anchoring method. So I mentioned that I borrowed this anchoring term from psychology, and I'm gonna just quickly state here what it is. So anchoring in psychology is a cognitive bias where the first number or piece of information we hear influences our judgment. So for example, like the negotiating starting price. This is a very common strategy that they use in sales and marketing and a lot of things in business. But in this context, we're going to use anchoring for our ego and the expectations that we create of our own image in the minds of other people. The main goal of this method is to kill our egos so that we don't care as much about what people think of us. And there are two ways you can do this. The first is the most ideal way, which is to voluntarily kill our egos, as in like voluntarily choosing to embarrass ourselves or fail or just face rejection of some sort. Because when we do it voluntarily, we do it out of choice. So we are the ones in control of that. And this is gonna be a lot easier to, sit through the discomfort when we emotionally react to that failure or that embarrassment or whatever. And this is also just basically emotional exposure therapy. For example, like by me wearing these pimple patches, like this is just going to free me next time so that I don't care as much about looking silly or whatever if, there's some other imperfections that I have another day, right, when I'm filming. So it's like by just doing this out of choice, I'm freeing myself because I've anchored the expectations of the viewers to not expect me to look perfect or something when I film my videos, right? And another example is that I had made a previous video about the fear of being seen, where I made the entire video with no cuts, like no edits, and that was also a way to anchor the expectations of me by just allowing myself to talk however I talk authentically, to, say a lot of filler words and stumble across my words, like whatever. Because now I have freed my future self to just not have to feel any pressure or expectation to maintain any image of myself in the minds of other people. It's the same thing for these videos, right? There are videos that I posted that got very little views in the beginning and very little likes and no comments. And yeah, initially it kind of hurt my ego. But what I found was that afterwards, the following videos that I made, I didn't care as much. I'm like, okay, there's no like image of myself to maintain in this case, because I already kind of looked dumb, or not dumb, but like I already kind of embarrassed myself. And also it's like, I'm not expecting something, right? Like for example, because I watched this girl's YouTube video about like a totally different topic, but in that video she was sharing how the previous video that she made, it completely blew up, right? It got like so many views and it brought in like so many subscribers. But then she was saying how the next video that she made afterwards, she really struggled to make that video. Like she had to refilm that video like 20 times or something, because she was just overcome with so much fear and anxiety about needing to make this next video as good as the previous one, because she also thought that everyone expected that of her, right? So now she has this image that she needs to maintain and, meet. It's kind of like the anchor. The anchor is now up here, like the bar is set so high. And now the cost of not meeting that, like the cost of failure, feels so much greater. The main thing about this anchoring method, where we voluntarily choose to embarrass ourselves or not meet some illusionary expectation, is that we just kind of choose to set the bar low. Like not so that we're gonna be like underachievers. No, the main thing is that we set it low in that we allow ourselves to now not fear looking dumb or not fear failure, because that's kind of where we're starting from, right? So there's a lot more upside here and a lot less cost to the failure. It's not like real cost, it's more like, mental and emotional, like the internal cost of whatever the failure means to us. Yeah, so like first, if you can voluntarily choose to embarrass yourself or just voluntarily choose to fail, then that is the most ideal. But the thing is, a lot of times we don't get to make that choice, right? Sometimes the failure just comes, the embarrassment just happens without our choice, and we just have to sit with it. And what you want to do in this case is to just reframe it. So instead of seeing it as like something that's so embarrassing or a failure, just reframe it as, this is now a new anchor that I have set for my ego, like my image. And with this new anchor that is now a bit lower in terms of the bar, the mental bar I have of my own image, now that it's lower, it means now I am a bit more free to just be myself next time. Because the thing is, the truth of who you are, like your authentic self, is probably not that ideal image, right? Because we're all just humans and we all make mistakes and fail and embarrass ourselves and whatever. But the main thing is, a lot of times we don't want to appear like that. So we want to appear like we're this image that's like up here. But if the reality is that we're really here in terms of like our authentic self, then the sooner you can just allow that version of you to be exposed to the world, the sooner you free yourself to just be yourself without having to care about what other people think of the real, authentic you. Like you just create your own freedom, like mental freedom, your own liberation from this ego, this image that you created of yourself and you placed in the minds of other people. And it's not actually the real image that other people have of you, right? So it's like, just kill your own ego. Basically, like if you have these failures or these involuntary, embarrassing situations, just see it as a new anchor, a new expectation that you now have of yourself, and you are now more free next time to just be yourself. Because ultimately, the goal of this anchoring method is to give yourself freedom to just be yourself. Because if you are fully yourself, that is the easiest image to maintain, right? There's nothing to maintain anymore. You're just yourself. That's all you have to maintain. So yeah, like I think this YouTube channel, like my personal YouTube journey so far, has really helped me apply this anchoring method to free myself, to just not care as much about what people think of me. Because growing up, the reason why I cared so much about what people thought of me is because I've always had this image that I needed to maintain, right? Like ever since I was in elementary school, I was always like the top student. I was like got the highest grades. I was like valedictorian in elementary school. I got all these awards, did so great in all my extracurriculars. And then I went to like a really prestigious high school program, and then went to one of the top engineering schools, and then got into one of the top companies in the world. And all of this just built up this image of myself in the minds of my peers and my family and family friends and like, whoever. It's like, now it just feels like there's so much to lose whenever I fail or make a mistake. It feels like it's so scary because my whole life, my success rate is like so high, right? I kind of expect myself to succeed like at least 90% of the time. But ever since I started YouTube, I found this has totally rewired my brain because like, I don't know if you're familiar with what it's like to be starting out on YouTube, but the failure rate is like very high, right? Like success is more of the uncommon outcome. It's like now the success rate is 10% and the failure rate is like 90%. You're not expected to have every single video just do amazing, right? That's just not the reality of YouTube, especially when you're starting out. But maybe 1 out of every 10 videos does well. And that's okay. That's kind of normal. And I think just experiencing this really helps me to just feel good, or not feel good, but like feel a lot more comfortable with failure and embarrassment. And in this way, I don't feel like there's as much of an image that I need to maintain. Like my ego is already killed. Okay, well, not fully. It's at least diminished significantly since before I started. And I think that's just so great, right? It's like, that's exactly what I needed to just let go of this pressure and expectation that I placed on myself because of some image that I created for myself that I wanted to maintain and manage in the minds of other people. So yeah, maybe like start a YouTube channel if you want to just further this practice of not caring about what people think of you and anchoring your expectation of your own image and your own success rate in life. But yeah, okay. Anyways, if anything in here resonated with you or helped, feel free to like this video or drop a comment or subscribe if you haven't already, because that will really help out this channel a lot as I'm getting started. If not, that's okay as well. I'm trying to make like 2 videos a week, so yeah, you'll probably see me sometime next week. Okay, bye!